Well, Fani Willis and Nathan Wade woke up this morning and they clearly chose violence, metaphorically speaking. This is going to be the recap of day 2 of the motion to disqualify Fani Willis and Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade from the prosecution of that RICO case coming out of Georgia. It started off slow, and it ended with the bang of a man being thrown under a bus, run over with the front and the back wheels, and then the bus backed up to do it again. We'll get there. All right, for those who missed yesterday's hearing and my recap from yesterday, it's up on the interwebs from yesterday. Yesterday's hearing was amazing because Fani Willis comes charging like a bull in a china shop, wanting to testify after her attorneys had just spent, a half an hour with the pleadings on the motion to quash the subpoena to compel Fani to testify. So notwithstanding all of that, she comes down unhinged, like a lunatic, to testify, and she testifies. I guess it went so well that when they ended the day yesterday, and they said, who do you have on for tomorrow? And Anna Cross said, well, we're going to call Fani Willis. We're going to have 4 or 5 hours of testimony with her. There might be some questions on redirect. Fani Willis's testimony yesterday clearly went over so well, she chose not to come this morning to testify.
So your office objected to us getting Delta records for flights that you may have taken with Mr. Wade.
And, well, no, look. I object to you getting records. You've been intrusive into people's personal lives. You're confused. You think I'm on trial. These people are on trial for trying to steal an election in 2020. I'm not on trial, no matter how hard you try to put me on trial.
Goodness.
So my question
is she a psychopath that just...
I object to getting any personal records.
Keep going, Fani.
We're not dealing with privilege through a witness.
Keep going, Fani.
And I'm not, no, I'm not dealing with privilege. What we had offered to put them in
This
camera
is
for the court to review.
the most disastrous thing I've ever seen.
That's not something you deal with a witness.
And I've seen a bird get stepped on. So Fani Willis, spoiler alert of the morning, her lawyers say she's not testifying, and we're like, the hell are we going to do? I brought beer, and it's 8 o'clock in the morning. 9 o'clock, I'm joking. And I didn't bring beer, so joking there too. So Fani Willis decides not to testify. That is an indication, in my humble view, that the debacle we saw yesterday didn't go over too well in the court of public opinion, and they decided we don't need more eyeballs on a melting Fani. I can do this all day, people. All right, so then what do? Well, we were apparently short of a witness because Fani decided not to testify. Terrence Bradley, the alleged counsel for Nathan Wade in the context of his divorce, who pleaded privilege yesterday, was supposed to testify today. He wasn't ready. Apparently, he was at a doctor. And I'm thinking by the end of the day, he's wishing he had stayed at that doctor's appointment. He can't be found in the morning. And so we sit there for an hour after we're told Fani's not going to testify. We're waiting for Terrence Bradley, and we can't find him. So finally, the judge says, look, where is he? When's he coming back? Oh, he's at a doctor. Funny thing is, by the way, yesterday when he was invoking privilege to not testify, nobody mentioned anything of a doctor's appointment today. This is the stuff that kids argue in school and expect the teacher to believe. Oh, yeah, I was at the doctor's office. Yeah, you got a note? Oh, yeah, I got a note. Let me just go ask my parents. Terrence Bradley allegedly had a doctor's appointment that he just couldn't get out of that he didn't mention yesterday, whatever. So we sit around wasting an hour plus of court time. So the day starts off with Governor Barnes. Governor Barnes, who I guess was former governor of Georgia or something. I don't know. He's working as a lawyer, used to prosecute cases. Barnes, B-A-R-N-E-S, and irony loves fate or whatever the heck that expression is. He comes out and testifies. The purpose of his testimony was only to show that Nathan Wade was not Fani Willis's first choice. So the fact that she ended up boning Nathan Wade was a pure coincidence because Lord knows she wasn't going to end up stooping Governor Barnes. The only problem with Governor Barnes' testimony was twofold. Apparently, when Fani Wade met with Governor Barnes to offer him the first position, Nathan Wade was present. So I don't know what the Anna Cross thought she was going to prove with that, because even when the testimony was that Fani Wade met with Barnes to offer him the position, Nathan Wade was present. So doesn't really strengthen the argument, as weak as that is in the first place, that Nathan Wade wasn't the first choice. He might not have been the first choice, but he ended up being the choice in more ways than one. The other problem with Barnes' testimony, he comes out and says, look, she offered me the position. I said no because I've got mouths to feed, being his employees at his firm, and he was not interested in the heat that the prosecution would bring. This guy apparently prosecuted a Saudi Arabian decapitation case, but didn't want the heat that would come with prosecuting Trump. He said he's lived with bodyguards, private security for 4 years. He didn't like it. I think probably more along the lines of it wasn't bringing in enough moolah for a man of the stature of Governor Barnes. Same thing cannot probably be said of Nathan Wade for reasons that we're going to see as well. These people are running outfits of incompetence and corruption. Down you go. So Barnes comes out and says, I didn't want this case because it didn't pay enough. Quite clearly, I can make more in private practice than accepting this mandate for the headaches that it brings, yada, yada, yada. Apparently Barnes, and I'm not saying this to be glib or whatever, was complaining that he had received threats that right-wing militias of Georgia or something along those lines had threatened him for being, and I'm quoting, too close to the Jews. I didn't understand what the testimony had to do with anything other than an attempt to be political and make it look like Barnes is also getting threats like Fani Willis, and that the only people who would take this prosecution of Trump would be people who are doing it selflessly because it doesn't pay well and selflessly because it's going to subject them to threats and harassment, whatever. Barnes comes, Barnes goes. Okay, Bradley's still at the doctor. Don't know where he is. Apparently he's getting results. He's got to discuss the results. It can't wait. And I'm thinking, my goodness, he should have sat there discussing those results because it's going to be the better alternative to having his heart pulled out of his rectum, which is what happened at the end of the day. Teaser. I'm teasing here. Fani Willis's dad comes up and testifies. At first, I didn't know who he was. I thought he was one of the three partners at Nathan Wade Campbell Bradley. Now no longer Wade Campbell, whatever it is. Now it's like Wade Campbell. I thought it was one of the partners. And then when he dropped the bomb that I only have one daughter, Fani Willis, I was like, oh my goodness. It wasn't the case. It was just Fani Willis's dad testifying. What was the purpose of his testimony? He had to come in and ratify, strengthen, support the idea that Fani Willis was literally chased out of her home because of threats of violence. That's why she went to go live at Yurdi's condo. It had nothing to do with her boning Nathan Wade at that condo. Her father's testimony also, it's not just that it didn't support Fani Willis's position, it utterly destroyed it. So the first thing is this. The father says that he predicted COVID was coming in 2019 because he knew. He's a world traveler. He was in South Africa. He knew what was coming, and he knew it ahead of the world, and gosh darn it, he didn't tell anybody. This dog is so damn annoying. He goes, he walks around, and then comes back for more. So Fani Willis's dad is a conspiracy theorist who knew that COVID was coming in 2019, but I really digress. I don't care. A lot of people actually claim to have been able to know that something was coming from China well before March 2020 when the world shut down. Fine. Then the dad says, I couldn't go anywhere because COVID. You know, I was scared. I'm an old man, yada, yada. I went to live at Fani Willis's house when she left because she was getting all sorts of threats and harassment. People showing up at the front lawn at 5 a.m, using the B word, using the N word. This is before the indictment, by the way, so it has nothing to do with the indictment of Trump. My question is whether or not it was actually like gang-related activity and gang-related plaintiffs, or whether or not it was people who have been wronged by Fani Willis's corruption. I don't know. But when you're dropping the race card, I would be interested in knowing the race of the people allegedly using the N-word on Fani Willis's front lawn. We didn't get there. They didn't get that in redirect or whatever. I would have asked the question because it does sound like the harassment threats and whatever that Fani Willis might have been getting is probably more gang related than extreme MAGA Republican related, considering it predates the indictment of Donald Trump. Okay, regardless, the father says Fani Willis had to leave because the property was so dangerous. People were showing up, coming in the backyard, that it was not safe for Fani Willis to live there. But he, a selfless, helpless old man who's terrified of COVID, stayed to protect the property. All right. That does not make much sense to me. That doesn't pass the smell test. But whatever, maybe I'm just cynical. When it came to Fani Willis's personal life, the dad also sank her case. The dad said how she dated a DJ back in the day. She would bring him over. They knew damn well that they were dating, yada, yada, yada. But he had no idea of her relationship with Nathan Wade. He didn't know if she was, stooping him, whatever, visiting with him at Yurgi's condo. He had no idea that she was dating Nathan Wade until 7 weeks ago. He probably learned it in the news when we all learned it in the news. When he was asked whether or not it's correct that she kept the relationship secret from him, he literally sank her ship and said, correct. Psh, of course she kept it secret from him. They kept their relationship secret from everybody because they knew damn well it was a conflict of interest on its face. And so Fani's own dad sinks her case. I don't know if anybody noticed, but I snipped and clipped it because it was a glorious clip.
Wow, this is a disaster.
When did you learn that your daughter had a romantic, personal relationship with Mr. Wade?
Well, about 7 weeks ago, when it, as a matter of fact,
I just did something bad.
found out when other folks found out.
Oh my goodness, he
That
doesn't
is, your
realize what
daughter,
he just
as
said.
I
here.
understand it, never told you one time
Never.
in the year of 2022 that she was dating Mr. Wade.
No,
correct?
That's correct.
Of course not. Why would she? They had to keep it secret.
Until recently, you didn't know from anyone,
He got it
including
from
your
the
daughter,
news. He got it
that
from the news.
she dated Mr. Wade, correct?
That's correct.
That is,
I learned it
whatever
from the court proceedings.
relationship is between father and daughter.
Oh, my
She
goodness.
kept that a secret from you, correct?
Correct.
That's all I need to know.
Well,
Stockton.
how did that go? How did that go, Fani? Not the way you thought it would. No more questions, Your Honor.
The dad testified. Governor Barnes testified. Then we finally found Terrence Bradley. He got back from the doctor, got a clean bill of health right before he had his heart. Terrence Bradley has been testifying from the beginning of this trial that he cannot be allowed to elaborate on his ratification, affirmation of Ashley Merchant's affidavit. Ashley Merchant prepared an affidavit with a number of facts attesting to the fact that the relationship between Fani Willis and Nathan Wade predated 2022. That it actually predates a lot of this, and that both of these contracts that Fani Willis gave to Nathan Wade were in the context of an amorous secret relationship whereby Fani allegedly procured financial benefit from that relationship. Fani Willis's argument is, no, it didn't start off that way. It got there, but when I first signed the contract with Nathan Wade, we weren't involved in an amorous relationship. Ashley Merchant filed an affidavit in which she alleged that the relationship predated the contracts and, in fact, predated everyone's testimony in the context of this defense. And Ashley Merchant was called a liar. She was called a perjurer. She was called all sorts of names. She made this up out of whole cloth. Turns out her affidavit was ratified, affirmed by Terrence Bradley. She was texting Terrence Bradley. She says, oh my goodness, can you believe what's going on here? They're taking trips together. They're going on cruises together. And Terrence Bradley responded to Ashley Merchant's affidavit saying, yeah, everything in this affidavit is correct. There were objections to Terrence Bradley elaborating on this testimony or even entering into it on the basis that it was protected by solicitor-client privilege because Terrence Bradley magically and mysteriously entered into a solicitor-client relationship with Nathan Wade. He couldn't remember when, 2017, 2018, but give or take, such that each and every and all discussions that Bradley ever had with Nathan Wade as relates to his relationship with Fani Willis was protected by solicitor-client privilege. Interesting caveat, little parentheses, Bradley in testimony ultimately confirmed, admitted, he never signed an engagement agreement, a retainer agreement with Nathan Wade. Never invoiced him. But he didn't just say that he never invoiced him. He refused to answer the fact that he never invoiced Nathan Wade for the legal services he purportedly rendered in the context of the divorce. He's like, I don't remember if I ever invoiced him. Who in their right mind, what lawyer in their right mind does not remember invoicing a client, or specifically does not remember not invoicing a client? My operating theory about this, by the way, is that Nathan Wade was drafting all of the proceedings in the context of his divorce, and he was using Bradley's letterhead as the letterhead so that it looks like Nathan Wade has counsel. And on paper, he did have counsel, but Nathan Wade was doing the drafting, Nathan Wade was doing all of the work, and he was just using Terrence Bradley's name, letterhead, to lend legitimacy to the proceedings that he drafted in his own name. All right, and that's why he never paid him anything, because he didn't do any work. He was just using him as a front to make it look like he had counsel, or to let his wife know, I do have counsel that I'm never paying, so you're never going to bankrupt me in the context of this divorce. Either way, Terrence, after much hemming and hawing and thinking, can't remember ever invoicing Nathan Wade, which means he never invoiced Nathan Wade despite the alleged solicitor-client privilege. Now, as a matter of law, as from what I understand, and I think it's the same here as it is in Quebec, you don't have to have a written retainer agreement in order for there to be a solicitor-client privilege agreement. You don't have to bill or pay a lawyer for there to be privilege. So the judge gets it right on that front. And he says, yeah, look, any questions relating to the date of the relationship is going to be protected by solicitor-client privilege, so we're not going to go there. And Terrence Bradley, other than looking like just an outright buffoon, can't answer a question straight, takes forever to answer straightforward questions, that's it. You would think, until Anna cross-examines or examines Terrence Bradley, and after asking some questions, I forget which, because my mind was blown, she asks Terrence Bradley, you used to be partners with Nathan Wade, right? Yeah. You used to be friends with Nathan Wade, right? Yeah. You're no longer partners with Nathan Wade, right? Nope. You're no longer friends with Nathan Wade, right? And I swear to you, you could see the moment, they didn't rip his heart in half. You could see the moment that Terrence Bradley realizes, holy crap, they woke up this morning and chose violence, and this is how they're doing it.
And while you didn't socialize together frequently, you considered yourself a friend of Mr. Wade at that time?
Yes, we were friends at the time, yes.
All right. You are no longer business partners.
That is correct.
You are no longer friends.
I mean, if he's saying that we're not friends, then
I
yeah.
want to know what you think, Mr. Bradley. Do you consider yourself a friend of Mr. Wade?
I would consider.
Goes to potential bias.
Anna Cross says, you're no longer friends with Nathan Wade, right? And after a long, uncomfortable silence, he says, I thought we were friends. And then Anna Cross gets into the fact that when Nathan Wade and Terrence Bradley ceased being partners, it wasn't anything to do with his representation or disagreement about the divorce proceedings. It had to do with the fact that, I'm saying what Anna Cross asked, that Terrence Bradley was accused of sexual assault of an employee of the law firm Wade Bradley Campbell. First time anybody's ever heard about this. Why the heck is Anna Cross throwing the guy under the bus who's been invoking privilege to not incriminate Nathan Wade? And she doesn't stop there. She doesn't say alleged sexual assault. She said you sexually assaulted an employee, and that's why you were let go.
You were asked questions, Mr. Bradley, about the circumstances under which you left the firm. Do you recall those questions?
I do.
All right. And you left the firm. The firm remained the same as far as other employees, Mr. Wade, Mr. Campbell, as the named partners of the firm. You were the one who left, correct?
That is correct.
And you termed it as a disagreement. You recall answering questions as though you left due to a disagreement. Yes?
Yes.
And that disagreement was that there was an allegation of sexual assault by an employee made against you, correct?
That is incorrect.
There was not an allegation that you
it's getting
assaulted,
interesting.
that you sexually assaulted one of the employees in the firm.
That is incorrect, but yes. Yes.
Yes, there was an allegation that you sexually assaulted a member of the firm, correct?
Yes, there was an allegation, yes.
And as a result of that allegation, you left.
I did.
You were no longer business partners with Mr. Wade.
That is correct.
The firm remained intact, and in fact, the employee involved remained with the firm, correct?
I'm not certain of that. They did leave the
throwing him
building,
under
of
the bus?
course. And I don't know, some of the employees did leave.
We'll see if he's a little more open on cross now.
Mr. Bradley, you in fact
Or
paid that
redirect.
employee $20,000, correct?
That is incorrect as far as what was. No.
On or about the time that you left the firm, and on or about the time that the allegation of sexual assault was made against you.
Wow.
Did you pay the person who had made the allegation of sexual assault any amount of money?
There was money left in an escrow that belonged to me. I don't know what that amount was.
And did that money that was left in the escrow that belonged to you, was that paid to the employee who said that you sexually assaulted her?
I never signed any, I never gave any money. I left the money in the escrow account. What happened to that money? I can't.
How are they throwing this guy under the bus?
I don't know what happened to it.
For what purpose did you leave the money in the escrow account when you left the firm?
I left the money in the escrow account.
For what purpose, sir?
Don't let me forget my thought. He admitted
It
they
was
were
on
friends.
purpose.
You just left the money in the escrow account?
Yes.
If there's no connection to the money you left in the escrow account and the allegations of sexual assault that an employee of your firm made against you, why was it that you brought to my attention, or why'd you respond the way you did about money in an escrow account when my question was, did you pay this employee any money?
I didn't hand any money. It was money from my escrow account, to my knowledge.
To your knowledge, where did the money in the escrow account go?
To the employee.
To that employee.
And then she says, and you paid that employee $20,000. And then Terrence Bradley's like, no, I didn't pay her $20,000. I left $20,000 in escrow at the law firm, and I don't know what they did with it. Then it came out that he knows damn well what they did with it. They paid it to that employee. They took Terrence Bradley, threw him under the bus, destroyed him, ruined his life. And I swear, it's not because I'm not steelmanning the reason. I can't understand why. Some people are saying, look, the judge is going to take in camera, confidentially, behind closed doors, secretly. He's going to look at what was argued to be solicitor-client protected information, and he's going to see that it's not, and he's going to then consider it as evidence. So they need to destroy Terrence Bradley's credibility by depicting him as a sexual assaulter, such that, you know, when he said that the affidavit contained accurate information, the judge won't believe him there. Even if that's the steelmanning of the argument, it makes no sense. What they've basically done now is opened the box, the Pandora's box, to Terrence Bradley, breaching whatever solicitor-client privilege he had been invoking. When Anna Cross says, you guys were friends, right? And he says, yeah. Well, there you go. You were friends, so you had discussions as friends and not just as solicitor-client. Tell us about those. When did he tell you that he first boned Fani Willis? When did he brag about it? I mean, for goodness sake, it opens that door. But it also opens the door to the fact that they just basically made enemies with the only guy who was sitting there defending Nathan Wade by invoking privilege. It makes no sense. And some people are suggesting like it's an ultra super double mega cross. I don't know. Throw the case under the bus so it doesn't go to trial, so that it doesn't reveal actual election fraud in Georgia. I don't know. Other people are suggesting that this is how vindictive Fani Willis and Nathan Wade are by mere virtue of the fact that Terrence Bradley ever even talked to Ashley Merchant. They were going to destroy him from the beginning. And this is not a spur-of-the-moment decision that they made, I don't think. I have no better reason to say this other than I think I've got good reasoning here. They had prepped another witness who came after Terrence Bradley, I forget his name, but someone who worked at the law firm, to testify about the alleged, and I'll say alleged sexual assault because it hasn't been confirmed in a court. They had another employee lined up to testify about it. They had the alleged victim of the alleged sexual assault lined up. These are not people you call at lunch to say, yeah, we've had a change of strategy. Do you want to come destroy a man's life, livelihood, future, credibility, etc.? This was lined up from the beginning. And so what was the strategy? I don't know. Is it pure vindictiveness? This is what you get for talking to Ashley Merchant. This is what you get for crossing me. There's names here. Anna Cross, crossing me, Fani Willis. This is what you get for stepping on the Fani. We will destroy your life and your... It was a nuclear bomb going off with 30 minutes left in the day. In fact, it basically ended the day. The judge is going to go in camera, review the purportedly protected, privileged documentation to decide whether or not it's in fact privileged. And the judge said at the end, like, dude, now I'm second guessing whether or not this guy understands privilege when he invoked privilege. So let's go in camera and read everything, see the text, see this, see that. And if anybody thinks that there's no paper trail, no emails confirming Nathan Wade's relationship and the date thereof that involves Terrence Bradley, I don't know, I'd say that that's rather naive. It's not just going to be about Terrence Bradley's credibility, verbal credibility. I think he's going to be more believable now that he's been untethered to unleash the fury, to quote Road Trip. I think he's going to be more credible. But if anybody thinks there's no correspondence confirming everything, confirming anything, I mean, that's naive. So this judge now is going to go in camera and say, yeah, Terrence Bradley doesn't understand a damn thing about privilege. And let's look at it. I still think the judge has got enough and already has his mind made up that he's disqualifying Fani and Nathan Wade, that these are clowns making a mockery of the judicial system, and he doesn't need to take a chance on arguably borderline evidence in terms of an appeal. That's my personal opinion. I think he's going to get the decision right. But my goodness, they woke up this morning, Fani Willis and Nathan Wade, and they chose violence. They knew they were going to destroy a man that they were using for the last 2 days for their benefit. I don't know what benefit they think they're getting out of destroying him. I think it's going to backfire wildly and explode this entire case wide open. And if you think Bradley ain't going to go to the IRS now, if you think Bradley might not even go to the authorities for other issues, holy cows. When you destroy a man and leave him with nothing left to lose, that man is a loose cannon, a wild animal, and that's what Terrence Bradley is right now, in my view. That's the summary. The hearing is over. The trial is over. They're going to come back for arguments. I guess if they decide, the judge decides that there's no actual privileged information, they might call back Terrence Bradley if they can find him. But in theory, it's over. They're going to come back for closing arguments. It was a question of scheduling, and we'll see where the judge goes. He's not going to render a decision on the bench. He's going to motivate it. He's going to draft it. He's going to make sure it's well thought out, well reasoned, and well supported by fact and law. And he's going to disqualify the Fani and Nathan Wade. And all of these people's careers and lives are basically ruined because they look like a bunch of corrupt, hack idiots, dishonest liars, and even their own witnesses come in, down you go, and sink their case. Oh, there was some other funny stuff that Fani Willis's dad said, but I don't want to even dab my pinky into the racial stuff. I have to now that I said it. The dad comes out and says, it's a black thing to keep cash around the house. That's about the silliest thing I've ever heard in my life. I'm pretty sure, the idea of wanting to have cash is a relatively human thing. But the race card was played ad nauseum. The woman card was played ad nauseum. I was going to play a drinking game. Take a shot for every time Fani Willis says as a woman, but then she decided not to come back and testify because she did so well yesterday. It's all over, and I think it's all over. And I'm waiting to be vindicated in my prediction. But now you know. Now you have it. And if you like what I do, like, share, subscribe. VivaBarnesLaw.locals.com. My goodness, are we going to be talking about this Sunday night with Barnes? Everyone's like, what does Barnes think? What does Barnes think? Dude, we're going to talk about it Sunday night on our awesome Sunday Night Law show, VivaBarnesLaw.locals.com. In general, get out there, exercise, stay healthy, eat healthy, talk to your neighbors, make sure everyone around you is doing well. And now you know your vlog, peeps. Peace out.